Hi, welcome to Talkin Business. I'm Joe Catrambone, CEO of the Stewart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure today to have not only a chamber member and one of our team, but also my next door neighbor, Amber Dakota. Welcome, Amber.
Yes. Good
It's so
morning,
good.
Joe.
I'm so happy that you came up
I know.
to sit with us. Uh, One of the things I like to always do is to ask someone how they ended up in Martin County because it's such a unique place, such a little speck on the map, and and it's surprising how many say my grandparents moved here and I moved here. I came to visit them and here I am.
You
So
just fall in love.
how did you end up in Martin County?
Well, I'm a bit of a rare breed. I actually am born and raised here. I went to J.D. Parker, Stewart Middle. I graduated Martin County High School. Go Tigers! And then after I graduated, I grew up in North River Shore, so I'm very much local. I went off to Florida State, and then I moved to Atlanta for about 4 years. I met my husband, a strapping military man. He was stationed in Savannah, so we lived there very briefly. And then when we got married, we moved back down because I couldn't think of a better place where I would want to be married and raise a family. And we looked at all different cities and bigger cities, and he was, new into the job market, and this just was the best fit for the both of us.
Where's Duke from?
He's from Atlanta.
Oh,
Yep. Yep.
was it a cultural shock for
A little bit. a little slow, a little quiet. But I mean, he was military, so he lived at
So
least
he's used
about
to moving
5
around, yeah.
years where, they're stationed in smaller towns and everything. But it's so charming. He fell in love with the water and the feel and the people. So, yeah.
That's great. Uh, so you are our third
Yes.
director of leadership,
Stepping into huge shoes.
and it's in 30 some years. I think that's a pretty good track record where we have continuity. And I always say, and will always say, if it were not for Nancy Saylor, this program may have taken off eventually, but not like it did because, like you and like Cindy before you and like Nancy, you've got to have a nurturing
Hmm.
quality about you or a personality. And everybody called Nancy mom.
Yeah, as did
so
I.
and then of course no one would dare call Cindy mom.
No.
They're not going to call you mom.
No.
But it takes that type of a nurturing personality and to really care about people and guide them through um, the rigors not only of leadership, but I've had so many people say to me, "It changed my life.
Yeah.
It really changed my life." I'm not like
Makes an
I went
impact.
through. Obviously, I brought leadership here.
Yeah.
I went through leadership Brevard County and then leadership Martin County. It didn't change my life. It opened up a
Sure.
whole new world for me, of meeting new people and finding out how things work in government, especially.
Right.
So,
Well, on that note, it is funny having stepped into this role. I always called Nancy mom, and I
Oh, did you?
realized very quickly why it is very. I'm a mom of two, and
I
it's
know.
very similar. It's making sure they have their snacks, making sure they're well fed, getting them transported to and from all of the locations, giving them potty breaks. It's all of the mom duties, plus
because
extra.
they are a lot
but
of,
polished.
I mean, they are like kids.
Yeah.
you know.
I'm yelling at them to get off their phone. I'm doing all the things I do
Yeah,
with my own
exactly.
teenagers sometimes, but.
Yeah, I think you almost need to be a mother to
For
be,
sure.
to
Yeah.
be able to do it.
Absolutely.
So, are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying the role and how things are going?
I love it so much, and I couldn't be more appreciative for this opportunity. First of all, the chamber has always been family to me. It's, from when I first started my career quite a few years ago, and then when we started Young Professionals and we partnered together on that, stepping into this role almost felt really natural. I just felt like I was kind of coming home. So I've enjoyed it so much just on that level, being a part of the team officially, although I always fancied myself a part of the team. But just the amount of people that I meet through each day, the planning of each day, the planning committee for the specific days, the planning committee as a whole, Tim Kinane, Eric Hine, Cindy Groover, Pat Nolan, I could go on. These people just, they blow me away month by month, day by day. They really do, how they lean into this, how well organized it is, and they just lead with passion. They're doing it for no other reason other than for the good of the class and to give them the absolute best experience. So being on this side of it, I was class 20, Twisted 20. And so getting to see it from this side, I love the program that much more. But it did change my life a bit when I went through it. The relationships I built going through this program, they're my forever friends. You know, I know I could call them and lean on them for anything, good and bad. And so it's neat to be a part of it now on this end and know that I'm helping to give this class that same experience.
Yeah, so many people. It's almost like a fraternity for guys or a
It
sorority
really
for.
is.
It's that it's like family. It really is. You know, when I went through again, Brevard and here, and you make lifelong friends.
Yeah. I like when I go to the chamber events and they'll ask, you know, who's been through through the leadership, which many people have, and I like almost watching. It's almost like this little level of competition. Like when I say Twisted 20, I hear Sue Hedgepath in the back. She's like 20, you know, and so and everybody has their people in the room, so it's a lot of fun. We're all really tight. And then when you graduate, being able to step into the alumni program, that just opens up a whole other, you know, group of people that they weren't just your classmates. Now you've got this other level of support and people that have been through the program, and you have friends in all sorts of places.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tim Kinane. Tim is another. If it were not for Tim, you know, he went through class one and never left.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, and if we had to pay him,
Yeah.
I mean, for his
You go
time, the
broke.
time that he puts in, the problem would probably, the cost would probably be out of reach for most people if we had to pay
Sure.
people like Tim that who's there. He's part of the planning. He's there every program. He's, you know, it's
He's incredible. His
Yeah, he is.
delivery and his approach
Yeah.
and how he
Yeah.
teaches is just very
he's got
interactive.
just the right. He's got the right
He does.
attitude and personality fits in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he loves it as you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Are there, and I know you've gone through the program, you haven't led the program, you're on your way to, you're completing your first year. At this point in time, have you seen anything? And by the way, that this is one of the things I think that keeps the program so viable is that we always ask, especially the graduating class, and you know, because I asked your graduating class, step forward, get on the planning committee. We want to tweak the program. We don't want the same thing year after year, month after month. We like to tweak it. I like change if it's for improvement.
Right.
Not change, just change, but to make things better. So at this point, is there anything, and obviously you have the option to change. You're the director of the program. So is there anything right now that you may be considering, or that you went to this point think, well, I have to do this a little different?
You know, this year has just been mostly a learning process
Yeah,
for
you're
me.
feeling your way.
I am. I am. I think for me, my focus going into this next year is I want to make sure that this class keeps their relationships intact, meeting more regularly outside of, once they've graduated, I don't want them just to fly the coop. I want them to stay close and start to, you know, have their own little events and their own little lunches and their own little meet and greets and stay connected in that way. So hopefully I can help foster that, because some classes do better than others in that regard. So whatever tools I can give them to help. And then also I want to see them lean into the alumni organization. I want it to be a quick step from graduating to becoming alumni and joining alumni, because that's where the real continued value is in this program. So, but I mean, the program itself and how it's run now, I'm impressed by how much detail goes into planning each single day. I mean, we have Health and Human Services coming up this Thursday. We've had about 5 meetings. We've gone to a couple of location sites to check it out. We've mapped out the day from start to finish, and a lot of that planning starts with the feedback from last year's class. What did they like? What didn't they like? What's new in the environment, and what's happening in that field that's changed since last year, and what do we need to tweak? So everything there's so much attention to detail based on feedback and what's happening now, that every day is just it's curated properly and done right for the class.
Do you see an area that, and I know I get you're
Yeah.
still getting your feet on the ground. Do you see an area that perhaps we need to go further, that the program isn't covering at this point in time? Is there something we're missing, or something in your mind that
Yeah.
would add to the program?
I'll be honest with you. As of right now, no. I think it's so well developed, and I'm not just boasting on the program. I feel like they're getting everything that they're getting the leadership, they're getting the deep dive into the community, they're getting to know the community leaders. They've got the support once they've graduated. I love where we're at now. I think the days are so long and they're so busy, from like 7:30 to 5:30
Yeah,
on
I
the
know.
first Thursday. So sometimes I feel throughout this process that the class hasn't had a whole lot of time to just kind of decompress and spend time together on a more personal level versus following through the day. So I want to find some ways maybe next year to do better about cultivating those relationships on a more personal level versus right outside of that Thursday. But I guess that's maybe the only area that I see now that I would like to help foster.
Is there perhaps some place that we should take them that we're not now? Again, just in your
Yeah.
at this point in
I think for me, I haven't seen like a good tour of the hospital. I don't know if that's really on the plan. So something along, especially there's a lot of changes going on with Cleveland Clinic and everything else. So maybe a bigger deep dive into that area. But for instance, we just did public safety. We went through all the back doors of the sheriff's office. We went through all the restricted areas, and we got the full experience. So each of these days are built just like that. I really feel like we're getting the most out of that field that we possibly can with the right people in place.
Are you getting any feedback from the participants at all?
They're really enjoying it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's, but no constructive feedback.
Not really, to be honest with you. A lot of they've enjoyed the days. I think sometimes the only feedback I guess I would get is after lunch in the afternoons, they don't enjoy sitting. And sometimes that's when we have more sitting and more, instructors that come in and talk about the assorted topics. So I think they enjoy the moments to speak. So I think maybe bringing into the program a little bit more opportunities for them to speak. Usually they'll present their homework, and that's their opportunity each day. But I think they like to talk a little bit more, even more than that. So if there's a way to find more activities throughout the day that aren't just sitting and learning, more just being very interactive, and we've talked about that a little bit at our last couple of planning sessions.
Yeah, the most important thing that, from my perspective as the chamber exec, is to have this group to help the chamber.
Yes.
And especially in lobbying efforts, which, a lot of chambers don't get involved politically, and we do. We even
Sure.
have a political action committee. So, and also, if I'm looking, if we want to find a candidate, for instance, we were looking for a candidate and have found one to run for city council. So that's a pool of people.
Yeah.
That they may not be politically motivated, but they've got the background, and we could develop them
Sure.
into to becoming more politically
Right.
motivated. Is there we're winding down, and I want to make sure we cover everything. So is there something or anything you want to talk about that we've missed?
Oh goodness. I feel like we've covered a lot of it. We've covered how extensive the days are, the homework, how well-rounded the program is, how hands-on it is. We've got capstone coming up. We've got graduation coming up in May, which I'm super excited about. And just continuing to.
Capstone's usually an interesting day.
I know. I'm excited for that day. The class is working really hard on that.
Yeah. What's your favorite day? As when you went through the program.
Well, back in my day, we had to run for office. So I ran for office.
I remember that.
Yes.
I remember the campaign signs.
And I had so much fun running for office. Of course, I did not win, sadly, because I was up against Dan Hewlin, and he's like a saint. How you can't beat Dan Hewlin. I voted for Dan Hewlin, you know. But I really enjoyed that process. So that's what stands out to me. And Steve Layton was my political advisor, which figured.
God. That's a trip in itself. Isn't
it? We had so much fun, but that's one of my biggest memories, actually, was just putting together that and having fun with it and being able to learn in the process, but also be creative in the process. I just enjoyed that.
Well, I think I've gotten a lot of good feedback. And there was no doubt in my mind, you know, when we put together a group when Cindy decided that she had to step aside. Your name came right up to the top. There were several others, but your name was right up on top because, again, it's not everyone can do it, and you've got to have that special personality that you and the others that we chose too. But there was no conversation or debate. The conversation was offer it to Amber. Hope she takes it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love it. I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Well,
I can't wait to be a part of its growth and its development and have more fun with it. The more I get my feet wet, the more comfortable I get. It's tough stepping into Cindy's shoes. She was such a well-oiled machine and such a pleasure. So
and of course it was the same thing with Cindy.
Yes.
Following Nancy, Mom, you know, and it was your leadership styles are different.
Yeah.
But there's leadership there, and that's what it takes. Not just that it's a leadership program.
You just have to dive in.
Yeah. Well, Amber, thank you again so much for coming up here.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
We good?